Well, good morning, guys. It's episode 19 of CETA, Creating Every Day in April, and this is April the 19th. Therefore, it is episode 19, and we are dealing with another Southern expression from the Southern Dictionary. And I appreciate you watching the video today. We're going to be looking at a kind of an unusual letter today, as you saw in the earlier images captured as we logged on. But I want to do a little bit of a backstory on today's episode, because I was reading recently of a gentleman who obviously must have had a lot of time on his hand, and he was doing an analysis of Google Books, which I think is pretty comprehensive publication of ebooks, as it were. And in that analysis, he looked at, as you can see on the screen, over 743 billion words that had been indexed by Google Books. And that 743 plus billion words actually translated into 3.56 trillion letters of the English alphabet. And he began to put together some tables to analyze the frequency of the letters, and not to mention the usage of each letter, regardless of its position in the word. So he would look at words that actually started with that letter, and he actually looked at words that just contained that letter. And so, probably no surprise to any of us, but he found that the least used letter in the English alphabet is the letter Z. In fact, he uncovered the idea that for every 1,111 words, the letter Z would only be used one time. So he started to make that analysis, and so he listed the most frequently used letters, but of course he went all the way through the alphabet so that you could see the least frequently used. And of course, the least used letter in the alphabet was that letter Z, one time in every 1,111 words. Well, the second most least used letter in the alphabet was the one we're looking at today, and that was the letter Q. And the letter Q scored at one time per 833 words. Interestingly enough, and I don't have a graphic to represent this, the most frequently used letter was the letter E. And it seems like the letter E appears once in every 8 words. So, kind of interesting. I found it interesting. Maybe I'm just don't have a life, and that's how it manifests itself in my mind. But nevertheless, if you're ever playing Jeopardy, or not Jeopardy, but Wheel of Fortune, or maybe even Hangman's probably a more likely case, you always want to check out the letter E, because that's the most apt to be used in the word or in the expressions that you're trying to uncover. Like in Wheel of Fortune, you want to buy a vowel, first one you want to buy is an E. But we're here today to talk about the letter Q and how that fits into the Southern Dictionary and our Southern expressions. And well, here we go. We're going to be looking at the letter Q, not tomorrow, but I didn't change the graphic. That is my fault. And Bob, we can't edit this, can we? No, we're live. Oh, that's right. I forgot. Okay, we can't leave that out. But how about if I do, what about if I do this? Okay, never mind. All right. Well, let's go on with it. The letter Q. And the word that came out today in the Southern Dictionary was quietus. Quietus. The definition is to bring to an abrupt halt. And hopefully this video will come to an abrupt halt in a few moments. But sometimes people use that word. It's kind of an unusual word because it spells like it should be starting with a K, but it's quietus. Quietus. I remember my dad used to say the quietus. So he was running down the road. He was a deputy sheriff, by the way. He was running around the road. He was guilty of sin, and we put the quietus on him. In other words, we brought his flight from the law to a quick and abrupt halt. So that's the word quietus. In fact, I think I read recently where that word actually appears in Hamlet's soliloquy by William Shakespeare. I'll let you check that out. I'm not going there today. Actually, there is another expression I want to show you today that also deals with the letter Q, and that's the phrase, quieter than a graveyard. You ever heard that one? I know I have on numerous times. You know, graveyard obviously is a slang term for a cemetery, an old-fashioned term, I guess, maybe from the South, who knows. But to be quieter than a graveyard means to be extremely quiet. I guess with your rambunctiousness, you need to be quiet. So, reminds me of the story of a fellow that was leaving the bar. He had been drinking pretty heavily, and he decided to take a shortcut home through a graveyard, and it had started to rain. And anyway, as he's walking through the graveyard, there was an open grave that had been opened to prepare for a funeral the following day, and he slipped and fell into the open grave. And he, being in the rain, you know, in kind of a chilly night, started to scream for help, and he started yelling, "Help me, I'm cold. Help me, I'm cold. Help me, I'm cold." And well, it turns out there was another drunk coming out of the same bar, taking the same shortcut, walking through the graveyard, and he heard this voice yelling, "Help me, I'm cold." So he started looking for the source of the voice, and he comes up on the open grave and looks down in the hole, and he sees this fellow sitting on the bottom of the grave with his arms around him, yelling, "Help me, I'm cold. Help me, I'm cold." And the second drunk looks down on him and says, "Well, no wonder you're cold, fella. You done kicked all the dirt off of you." Wish I had a laughter effect, but I don't. Well, anyway, that's what quieter than a graveyard is. It's normally quiet. It doesn't usually have men yelling out of the open graves, or let's hope not anyway. But that's it for the Southern Dictionary. Q's a tough one. Not a lot to work with the letter Q out of the Southern Dictionary. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll join us tomorrow. Come back and see us for the letter R, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. And remember, if you're ever in Alabama, you know what I say, y'all come see me.